It's the Evening Rancor, the daily podcast from that guy who talks about stuff, John Ford. Any links mentioned on the show are available at johnford.radio. Today, we're coming to you direct from your mom's basement. Welcome to the Evening Rancor, the John Ford podcast.
The show is on!
johnford.radio.
All right, here we go. It's another podcast with yours truly, John Ford, the Evening Ranker. Last time I did one of these, we talked to a former radio cohort. Last time I did one of these, we talked to a former radio cohort of mine. Cohort. Not cohort. Cohort. This time we're going to talk to a radio cohort. No, it's not a radio cohort. It's another cohort. The difference between the two, I'm not really quite sure, but you could look it up in your Funkin' Wagnalls and it might tell you something. Anyway, today it's Bill Murphy joining us for the Evening Ranker, the John Ford podcast. Okay, so we're going to do this phony baloney thing right now, and I'm going to do this intro and say, here's Bill Murphy. So, because what's going to happen is now he's going to explain what's going to happen.
Yes, and now we're getting ready to do a special sort of role reversal podcast with my old buddy John Ford. Or, excuse me, the financial whiz himself, Payne Webster.
Oh, the Payne Webster. You'll never let me live that down, man.
We can't come out of the gate with Payne Webster, because then after 5 minutes, nobody will listen anymore.
Could you imagine doing that today?
No. Never.
You couldn't do it. What a sad world we live in.
You go ahead and give the backstory on that.
Well, it was, we worked, Bill and I go way back.
Use the rubber.
We worked together at a couple of pretty cool radio stations. We worked at WSHE. You were just a puppy. I mean, I was a puppy too, but you were just a puppy.
I know. We go back to almost teenager. I was a teenager when I met you.
Yeah, you were. I was in my 20s.
God, that sounded weird. Mm-hmm. And then we reconnected in early 90s, 91 to be exact.
Well, you had gone, I believe, to go do mornings with Sonny Fox at the Eagle. Is that what it was?
That was Y95.
Y95. Was that the Eagle, right? No?
No, Eagle was 97.3, which I went to after I left you, but that's a different story.
Oh, did you? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So then I guess it's broadcasting. I don't know. You got fired. Something happened. Then you came and you kind of were like my morning sidekick guy for a while. At the Edge.
It was an odd. I can tell you the date if I knew the date of the. Off the top of my head, of the Mike Tyson Buster Douglas fight.
Yeah, you always were the sports crap, man. I know nothing about sports.
No, but I mean, I was just saying. But Mike Tyson knocked out Buster Douglas in 9 seconds on Saturday night, and I started working for you on Monday. So whatever day that was. Yeah.
Remember you had the Nintendo thing, and we'd go over to your apartment and play the
Genesis.
The Sega Genesis. But it had the thing where you would fight the Buster Douglas or something. But we'd go over and smoke lots of pot and play the stupid games.
I don't see. We smoked so much pot, I don't even remember what game it was we played. So
every one. I mean, and So what you're going to do though is we're both recording this. So you're going to do this as your podcast, and I'm going to do it as my podcast, which I haven't been doing many lately because I kind of got bored with them.
I haven't acknowledged my sponsors. Would that be inappropriate right now?
I don't care.
Your podcast?
I don't care. Go right ahead.
The fine folks at Zapiti, the makers of the high-end 4K HDR media players, and our good friends at King K9. Both companies have odd spellings, so I always have to do that. Zapiti, Zappiti, and King K9, KingKanine. So,
and my sponsors, we were brought to you by Cheese. It's gelatinous. It's yellow. And it's available just about anywhere, even in your shoes. And by the dollar store. The dollar store where you can buy crap for $1 from China. Thank you very much.
There you go.
So neither of those are my actual sponsors.
Yeah, I figured that. So we got a lot to catch up on. There's been such an evolution in this thing we call broadcasting since we worked together, and I think it would be fascinating to discuss that stuff with you and the 3 or 4 people that would be interested in listening to.
Sure. Now the last podcast I did with a guy that I worked with at a station in New Jersey. And that's all we did. We just talked about broadcasting and radio. But so we can do that. That's fine. That's fine.
I got a little punch list here stuff. So
of course, Sonny Fox passed away since we last kind of talked.
Very sad. Didn't even see that coming. He's one of those guys that got sick and just didn't want to tell anybody about it. So apparently it was a very quiet, lonely last few months for him, I guess.
I can understand that. I have nothing bad to say about Sonny Fox. Sonny Fox was always very, very good to me. He never did anything evil to me. He was a nice man.
He was obviously very good to me. He was my first boss. He was actually the program director at WHSE when I got hired. And then for a brief time, and then he actually, invited me to come out with him and try Top 40 in the mornings in Dallas.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Top
so I did
40 in the morning.
I did the good morning, everybody thing for a while. Basically, all I did with him was some character voices for bits that he would write, and it was fun. And then, that I was like that weekend that I mentioned was very fortunate for me because I had gotten fired.
You're fired.
Let's say let go. And actually, my firing was the first step of many that they took to try to get Sonny out of there because
they didn't want him anymore, huh?
They didn't like him. He didn't adapt to Dallas very well, and they just he had a very elaborate contract. So I guess he was sort of a step-by-step legal process that they did. They got rid of me and one of the producers first. And then it slowly tore his show down. Whatever.
Right.
But what happened with me was I went home that day and oddly got a phone call from you, or I guess the next morning. It was a Saturday morning. You had found out that they let me go, and I guess Steve Allison, who was your boss at the time,
who died a few years ago.
I heard. He had heard some stuff.
Hey, let's talk about all the dead people, man.
And laugh about it, knowing the fact that we could be easily one of them by now.
No, we will be. It's eventual. We're going to drop dead, man. and the way I feel today, I get the allergies are driving me nuts.
Nagging arthritis, things that just pop up that just make me go, really, every day, really.
Oh man.
So yeah, that was a cool thing. So I got to work at two very, very famous radio stations, WSHE and KDGE, The Edge
in Dallas. Yeah, which is no longer there. So
right.
It's like eventually they all, like everything else, they all drop dead.
He's dead, Jim.
Isn't there a form of The Edge still in Dallas on another frequency or something?
No, they killed it.
Bring out your dead.
They killed it. Yeah, I forget what they did with it, but they ended up eventually killing it. You know who else is dead? Jerry Lentz.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, he died of the flu or something wacky.
Oh, no, not COVID.
No, this was 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess, he
was the nighttime guy at the Edge.
We could do a whole show on all the people we know that are dead now, but I don't know how interesting that would be.
And by the way, when you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Okay, I'll stop it.
One thing you poked at me, we were doing a thing back and forth on Twitter yesterday. You poked and reminded me about how we had this. I'd love to get into a little bit of politics with you because I think some stuff has evolved since we hung out before.
Yeah.
But also the Paul and George thing. So we were two polar opposite Beatles fans because you were just a John Lennon.
My
fanatic.
My viewpoint was that John was the more interesting songwriter, and that Paul just kind of wrote these schmaltzy little, like pop tunes. Yeah,
okay.
That was basically,
Well, that's true. And then I think in that whole argument, I was missing out at the time on George Harrison, who has now since become my favorite Beatle, and I think probably the best songwriter of them all.
Well, I don't know. He certainly wrote some of the best songs. I don't know if he was the best songwriter.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, but I mean, even what was it? Frank Sinatra said the song "Something" was one of the greatest love songs ever written.
Got to agree.
Frank Sinatra said that. I mean, you probably knew that.
No, I actually heard that later, but it's I have to agree with it. And in fact, since we're on that note, I recently. All right, so I have some things to discuss about sound quality in music because I know you're someone who really appreciates that. Back in the day, you were I'm sure a heavy vinyl listener and headphones guy, and you dug old vintage cool analog equipment.
And I still have some. I've still got a lot of records. I've got nothing like George Gamark from The Edge does.
Right.
But
nobody's got what George has.
And I've got two like late 60s JBL studio monitors on my stereo.
Oh, nice.
So, I like everything flat.
Are you talking about like the 4311s?
Well, these are the 4311s, but they were the ones that were made for consumer. They have like a marble top.
Right. Wow. Very rare.
Are you familiar with those?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And I know how rare they are, too.
Yeah. And they sound great.
So what happened was you've had that stuff all along, and then I think what happened, and when I say we, I mean humans, we sort of like, what's the word I'm trying to think? We sabotaged our whole music listening experience for like 2 decades. So we were, this all ties into bandwidth and technology and
get
internet.
To the point, would you?
No, seriously, we were able to listen to really, really high fidelity music, and then in the early or the mid '80s, when they discovered that they could make stuff digital, we had so many limitations, and because of the file sizes and the inability to utilize the internet for it yet, they put everything on CDs, which was limiting the quality of what we could hear, and we missed out on the advances that were being made in recording studios. And now we're on the other side of that with bandwidths able to support it. Have you been listening to any of this digital stuff at like 96K or 192K, the high definition audio? I'm just become a fanatic all over again.
No, I haven't. And no.
Okay.
What should I listen to? I mean, most of the contemporary...
That went well.
Yeah, no, but that's all right. The contemporary music that I hear, it sucks, man. I mean, here, this is my thing with what's happening today in contemporary music, okay? And it's not because I'm just, the old man yelling at the cloud.
Well, yes, I am.
Which I am. Well, I'll admit that I am, but it's not just that. We've essentially... entered an era where everything is digital, where everything is like you said, it's a sample rate. So and you've got essentially almost all music today is quantized to death. It is beat detective to death. There is no humanity to it at all.
Oh, the humanity!
Everything is exact and it's purposeful, and you listen to Led Zeppelin or the Beatles or whatever, and you would like John Bonham, you would hear him vary his beats per minute. I mean, he played the drums like a human. You don't hear that anymore. Everything is quantized. It sounds fake. Everything is every singer is run through the what the hell is it? The
Auto-tune.
Auto-tune, right. Every singer's run through auto-tune, I mean, even in country music, for God's sakes.
I think the person I heard express this the best was Steve Lukather. About 10 years ago, I interviewed him, and we were having this very discussion. And he says the music today is so, first of all, he described it as pedestrian, which is a great word. And then he said there's no adult chords in music anymore. Everything is just intervals, 2 or 3 intervals, and it's just baby, 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 and boom, and one note to another. Nobody can harmonize or do anything intricate anymore with chords, and I just thought pedestrian was the best word.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Another guy who also had some pretty good opinions on this is the producer T-Bone Burnett.
Oh yeah.
So and there's somebody who knows all the tricks. He knows all the analog and digital tricks, and he's probably one of the top 3 producers in the world. But what he loves to do is record somebody like Gillian Welch, where he gets to go to the RCA studios, the old RCA studios in Nashville with their ribbon mics and just let the reel-to-reel run and do everything straight off. Somebody like Dylan, for example, who you may or may not be a fan of, but to this day, he still goes into the studio with the band and they do everything straight off. He doesn't even multi-track.
I know. And I am aware of that, and I have become a little bit more of a Bob Dylan appreciator than I was before. But what's happening is these producers are the ones, and the artists, of course, because these guys were doing magic in the studio. A lot of these guys who you just mentioned, the Al Schmidt, for example, who just also passed away. They were always doing this kind of analog magic and getting better and better and better at it through the year. I'm more or less talking about the delivery method that they were handing it to the public with.
Right.
So they were getting a dumbed down version of this all the time. Now that you're able to take a copy of a direct analog master at 96K and put it on a 5.1 file on a DVD, which so few people actually did and experienced when it was popular. What you do is you capture all the analog all over again. It's all come full circle. You hear the tape deck. You can hear the hiss on the tape. You can almost tell what console they're using because all the character is back because the bandwidth is wide enough. So we missed out on that progression, and now we're opening the curtain back up.
But my question is okay, so fine. So essentially what you're doing is you're hearing a really high quality, high sampled version of the original analog master.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. But you're still not getting the warmth of the analog. It's still zeros and ones. It's still going to be a digital file.
Okay. I got this recent disc. I've got a whole elaborate 5.1 setup now in my studio. And what I did was, and not to make it a long story, which I've been doing with everything here, but I have this this vintage 2-channel amplifier that I've been using in my studio forever, 15 years ago. I stumbled upon it, got lucky. It's a Bryston 2B-LP. It just sounds phenomenal. And I managed to find another one online on eBay. They went for $3,000 when they came out, and now I got one for like $450. I had a buddy of mine recap it and tweak it. And now I have a matching set of speakers and amps in the back of the room as well as the front, and I'm able to play these 5.1 files with Pro Tools. And I beg to differ with you about how it captures the analog. Doobie Brothers released
No. What I'm saying is that you can hear the warmth of the original analog files.
Right.
But it's still a digital file.
The equipment you're hearing it through, is still not a. I know, but because 192K, for example, when the Doobie Brothers did this remastering of their old quad mixes, you're beyond the hearing scope by 100,000 K, and you actually can capture everything that was on that tape. You hear the tape deck start. I don't know. I just missed all that stuff for a long, long time, and now that I'm uncovering it in this high definition digital, I think it's something to really be appreciated.
Well, I'm glad they get your panties wet. That's it's a good thing.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Wait, now in our old age, we all need something to get us excited again.
Yeah. I mean, I missed it for a while. And I used to, I was like you when I was a kid and get the excitement of getting a new album and ritualistically sitting down and listening to it. Yeah. I'm going through that all over again now with these 5.1 mixes.
What's interesting is that, some of the, I'll go back and the other day I pulled out the vinyl I had for the Beck, Bogart, and Appice record.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Which when it came out, that was like, wow, I love that record, man. It was like, and they billed themselves as like the original power trio, the big power trio, and East meets West, and England meets California, and blah, 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 blah. And I cranked up the JBLs, and I'm listening to it, and I was so disappointed because what I was hearing was how the thing was just pieced together like a jigsaw puzzle.
It really was.
Right. It was pieced together like a jigsaw puzzle, using the earlier days of multi-track. Yeah. And you could hear the tape hiss go in and out as they would punch up something, to bring in another Jeff Beck track. And you could hear how it kind of had no soul. It was a great record. Jeff Beck was amazing, and the Bogart and Appice would do a great rhythm section. But if you really listen to it, it kind of had no soul, as opposed to when you saw them live.
But at the same time, John, and it's so funny that you're mentioning this because I just had a recent kick with that record as well. And if you were just talking about how quantized and assembled everything is now, that was the opposite of that.
Right.
And to me, that imperfection and that sloppiness does amount to a lot of soul, I think.
My point is I think it would have been a better record had the three of them just gone into the studio and recorded the songs.
I agree. And they more or less kind of did. It's really funny. Last month, I just finally got around to interviewing Carmine. And I did almost a whole podcast episode on that album, and we went into real detail on it. And I played one of the songs, and I said to him, I go, Carmine, this is like the only time in a mix where I've heard the kick drum in the left channel and the snare drum in the right channel. It's very unique. And he goes, no, that's not how it is. There's two kicks. There's one in the left and one in the right.
Yeah, because that's how his kit was. That's right.
I know. And then the snare's right down the middle. And I go, okay. And then I played it again, but he couldn't hear it because he was listening to a mono phone feed.
Right.
And I go, no, dude, kick is in the left, the snare's in the right. He didn't even realize that on a couple of tracks, that's exactly what's going on. It's funny. And very, very bold and daring of them to do that. It was still cool.
Who produced that? I don't even remember.
It's a great question. And I actually told him this, and I think we got sidetracked on the conversation, but on Tidal, I went in to see all the credits to see who produced it, and it said producer unknown.
Ah.
And I mentioned that to Carmine briefly, and he goes, that's weird, but we got sidetracked, and he never cleared that up for me. So
I wonder who did produce that record.
I don't know. Possibly Jeff Beck.
Yeah, it could be. Well, but he's more interested in racing cars. He just wants to go on and play the guitar. In that tour, I saw the tour, and the tour they were great live, of course.
You are exceptionally lucky to have seen that tour. Well, that's really cool.
And not to get on the music tangent, but that was one of the things about Beck. I was always a Beck fan. I have since, I still think he's like a great rock guitarist, but I don't think he's like the greatest rock guitarist ever.
No, I don't either, but he's very unique.
Right, but the thing with Beck when you would see him live was that he if he was into it, if he felt like playing, it was the greatest live show you ever saw in your entire life. If he just was like, okay, I'm going to go out there and go through the motions, it was horrible. And it was like, this guy can't even, what's the point? Why did I pay for the ticket? I saw him with the tour he did with Jan Hammer for Wired.
Wow.
And I don't remember that record.
Of course I do.
Yeah. So it was after Blow by Blow. And opening for him, opening that show, I was really lucky to see the person who I consider probably the greatest rock guitarist ever was Roy Buchanan.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second act was, what's his name? He ended up ODing after the show. Tommy Bolin.
Oh, Tommy Bolin, yeah.
And then Beck came out and he played with Jan Hammer and all these jazz rock guys. And they did like 4 encores. Beck was like so into playing that night. And the last encore, Beck wanted to keep playing. I mean, he just was like, who knows? He took speed that night. I have no idea. And Jan Hammer was shaking his hands like, I can't play anymore. He wore out Jan Hammer.
I never get tired of that one.
That's crazy.
The keyboardist from Mahavishnu Orchestra, who played with John McLaughlin. Jeff Beck wore him out.
I'm glad you called him that instead of the Miami Vice guy.
And the Miami Vice guy.
That's Jan Hammer's tune. You know that, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny you say that because now I'm in retrospect, I'm looking back at a show I saw Beck on a solo tour at the Pompano Beach Amphitheater, maybe as recently as 15 years ago.
Right.
And it started to pour down rain, and it was just one of those moments where you could kind of see it in Beck, where he was just sort of
I don't want to be here.
No, it was the opposite, John. He was taking it in. He was like, oh, this is pretty cool. All these people are standing in the rain. And one of the songs they did, I think it was an encore, was his Day in the Life thing that he did on George Martin's record.
Right.
And it brought me to tears standing there in the audience. That's one of the few times I've ever been that emotionally affected by a show, but it was really, really awesome. So much feeling in that guy's playing.
Oh yeah, I mean that's really that was his thing.
And you're right. If he's not feeling it, then you're not.
He had a lot of soul. I mean, he could he could play fast. He could run through the scales just as fast as anybody else.
They're going to be out so fast your head will spin.
But the song Stevie Wonder's "Because We Ended as Lovers" that he wrote for him for Blow by Blow.
Right.
I mean, there's a perfect example of him playing this very melodic, very slow, very emotional piece. And that was really what he excelled at.
So they did a handful of records back in the day on that label. I guess that was CBS, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, they did a bunch of quadraphonic mixes, and I don't know if you were around. Experienced those Sansui four-channel 8-track decks that would play in your quad?
I had one. So
man.
So what it was is you had two different kinds of quad. You had the discrete and the matrix.
Right. Now
the matrix was what they had on records, and it was basically it was bullshit. It wasn't really
it was
quad.
Smoke and mirrors.
Right.
Yeah.
But the 8-tracks. Because what they did is they doubled up the tracks. So you only had two, it would just clunk, clunk to the second track. So you actually had 4 channels of audio.
Yes.
And some of that stuff, was really pretty cool. Some of it was pretty gimmicky, right? Because, but some of the folks that that recorded for quad,
yes.
Some of those were actually pretty cool. Now, the ones that they later went back and just split everything up and remixed it, not so much.
No, but there's a direct transfer now on DVD of that Blow by Blow record that is just transferred from the masters, and it's they didn't do anything different to it. You just get a perfect quality version of it, and it's just outstanding, man. That's just on Blow by Blow, that opening
That's a great
track.
record. And here, like for example, when that record first came out, Freeway Jam got played on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
And you never hear that. That's just another example of stuff that you never hear at a classic rock station anymore.
I know, it's crazy.
Are you on the air anywhere anymore?
No, as of last year. I had sunk so low that I had bass. Ended up on easy listening at 101.5 Light FM. But I was doing a part-time thing where I was filling in. They were down to only like 3 shifts when they downsized.
Right.
And so I would fill in for the morning or the midday or afternoon for the last few years, but like a week at a time and stuff like that. And so I was just kind of doing it for fun.
Having fun, sweetie.
So then the pandemic hits last year. They furlough me, fire every part-timer in the country except for one.
Every part-timer in the country?
Every part-timer in the country except for one in each market just for emergency for the pandemic.
What a great business.
No, thank you.
Unbelievable. So I did nothing for 4 months. In July, they call me, we'd like you to fill in for the mornings. Okay, good. I've got my remote set up in my studio at home, so I don't have to go there. So I did the stuff. I recorded the whole thing. I did 2 weeks of fill-in, did the morning and afternoon. And at the end, they wanted me to log in 2 hours for each show. And I had spent 6-7 hours prepping it, recording it, making it perfect. And I just said, that's okay. Take me off the schedule. And I haven't been back since. So it's just, I had my fun.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I don't think there's any way I could be on the air today. There's just no way.
No.
Because I'm too much of a smartass.
Yes.
I would be fired within 48 hours. I will guarantee it. Because you originally for non-radio people that might be listening in, you originally get into radio, to broadcasting because you love the music, right? And some people stay that way, and that's fine, Mm-hmm. At some point, a lot of people like me, you decide that really what you enjoy is shooting your big, stupid mouth off.
Right.
And that's what I liked, which is why I later got into talk and went to work for Walt Sabo and would train talk show hosts and stuff like that. You can't have an opinion anymore.
Right.
And it's like, I couldn't do that. I would have to have an opinion. I mean, I would be fired so fast, so I wouldn't even try. I talked to a couple, people here in Austin at their talk stations about working for them. There was one that was going to hire me, but then they ended up going off the air and flipping to some kind of Spanish thing. It was the first FM talk here. And then the other, when KLBJ here, which is the AM talker here, I've talked to them a couple of times, but I don't think he wanted to hire me. I think he was afraid of my resume.
Be afraid.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I really do. I mean, and there was probably some other stuff, but because he saw that I'd worked for Sabo Media and Walt Sabo for 5 years as vice president, and I programmed WIOD in Miami, and it was like, I'm not going to hire this guy. This guy's after my job.
Oh, all right. He was a little intimidated by it. Yeah, I gotcha. Well, you can have an opinion, John. It's just that you need to have the same opinion as the company that hired you. That's what the deal is now.
No.
You could go work for a hardcore right-wing radio station and blab their opinion all day long if you want.
But that's not. That's not really true. This is the argument I make. The argument I make is that where's the line? No one will tell you where the line is.
Until it's too late and
they fire you. Because there is no line.
Right.
It used to be, in the era of George Carlin, and, you had your 7 dirty words, and those were the things you couldn't say. Coming from talk radio, having done talk radio for many years, what makes talk radio work is having an opinion. That's, whether, and you hold to that opinion, Yeah. And no one, I see these people constantly getting fired for stupid crap. It's like, because, they said, I don't know, they go against the latest woke thing or something, and they'll say that on the air, and they get fired.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
Yeah.
Where is the line? There is no line. You can't tell me where the line is, and that's the problem. That's the real problem.
I'd like to think that that's pretty straightforward, like you're saying, but I also think a lot of it has to do with, because you get caught in this vortex as a broadcaster. If you own or if you're programming a station and you've got a guy who's being extremely controversial with his opinion on the air, yeah, he may be crossing a line, but he's also giving you record ratings at that moment.
That's how you get ratings.
So then how do you draw? There's another line that you can't figure out where it's drawn. How do you tell the difference between incredible ratings and...
Though how you tell the difference is you have somebody that's running the radio station that understands that. And we don't have that. Because most of the people... In the United States, most of the people running the radio stations come from the sales department. And all they're worried about is the next sale, keeping the sale. They get that sale. What's interesting is Walt Sabo...
Or offending a client.
Or offending the client, right. Walt Sabo, when he was consulting the Rogers Group, I think it was the Rogers Group in Canada, the owner of the Rogers Group, which I don't even know if they still exist, but at that point in time, they were a big conglomerate of radio stations in Canada. And the owner told him, he said, we will never hire a general manager from sales.
All I know is never bet on the white guy.
And Walt said, well, that's great, but tell me why. He said, because he'll just screw it up. He says, you keep them in sales. You care about the sales. You care about billing. Keep them doing that. But if you put them in charge of the product, they're going to screw it up and ruin it every time. Yep. And even if you look at like the Howard Stern days, okay, the days of Howard Stern on terrestrial radio, Dave Ross in Miami. I never really cared for the man, but when Stern would do something outrageous and he would get people show up at the radio station picketing, what would he do? You know what he would do? He would take them donuts and coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what you do. Of course. You pay these people to have an opinion and to draw attention to your radio station, and then when they do it, you fire them. No.
All one has to do these days is take a look.
You want to get that? You can get that.
No, I'm not going.
This is not broadcast radio. You can do it.
I should do this.
You could take a dump. I'm
going to take this call and let you guys hear it because I'm sure it's complete bullshit.
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hello?
Yes? Hello?
Hi, this is Linda Davis from
No.
America.
She's recorded.
No.
The reason I'm calling you is because after the economic shutdown, the FCCA is actually eliminating...
Okay, I told you. I don't even have anybody I can talk back to there, so forget it. But so what I was going to say was, all one has to do is take a look at Facebook for 5 minutes to tell how much of a ratings grabber opinions are.
Right. Well, I don't have a Facebook account, so
I'm just saying, even if you look at a screenshot of one, you'd be like, oh, all someone has to do is have an opinion, and people will come flocking.
Yes.
So
it's true. Well, it's the same thing with Twitter. I deleted my Facebook account years ago because Mark Zuckerberg to me he looked like a scumbag,
That's a good enough reason.
Yeah, and it was like, I don't want this. These people are evil. Twitter is evil enough.
But you were also a little bit envious of his situation, I'm sure.
No.
Oh, really? Okay.
No. No, I envy a lot of things, but
You would have an enormous Schwanzstücke.
I tried so many
Not
times
that.
to get out of it, and I've tried so many times. I've deactivated, I've quit, and then I find myself in a situation where I got to promote I don't know, a band gig or something I'm doing, I'm like, oh, damn it, I need to get back on there for something. But I'm trying to not be so addicted to it. What I'm really trying to do, John, is revert myself back to the naive, politically ignorant 30-something guy that I used to be, that used to enjoy life because he never paid attention to politics. And now I've become a miserable old coot because I know what's going on.
That's what's funny is that you on Twitter the other day, you were yelling at Brit Hume or something about something. And so I wrote you and I said, why are you so mad, bro?
See, and that's the thing. Okay. I just want to talk about the state of this politics today because it's so crazy. I was just listening in the car. Somebody texted me something about, oh boy, we are really headed down the road to fascism. And I'm like, okay. Meanwhile, at the same time that this guy is texting me, I'm hearing on the right-wing talk radio station, which, by the way, 610 WIOD has become like, I don't know, it should be called like Hannity AM or something.
It's hard to believe that's the when I was there, that was Neil Rogers' radio station.
I know, it's crazy. And now, so it's just those guys all day long.
I'm dying over here.
So as I'm getting this text about this wide characterization of the right as fascists, I'm hearing this guy on the radio say how, oh, democracy is over now that Biden's president and he's forcing socialism down our throats. And it's two polar opposite views of it, and neither one of them are correct.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And people go around town just thinking it's gospel.
Well, from one side or the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
100%.
no, I see. To me, do you ever listen to or watch any of Jordan Peterson's stuff?
Oh, yes, of course I did.
Do you like that?
He's a poker.
Just getting a poke in the chops.
He's a guy that I think he says stuff that he doesn't even truly believe just to raise the controversy of it.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, to me, the interesting stuff that is his college lectures.
Yeah.
That's, to me, the interesting stuff. But I think he's right in one respect as far as tribalism goes, and that's what you're dealing with. It's like we've devolved into this tribalism, and the truth doesn't matter anymore.
Of course not. And at 30,000 feet, and you look down at this situation, and you talk about how each side describes themselves. And the right will tell you that they are united, and they are. They're completely united across the board as far as all their line items of their, political points. And then they try to say that the left they're all this or they're all that. The left is not all anything.
Well,
and it's just so crazy how they think that something happens. Oh, the Democrats are trying to take away your thing. No, they're not. A small section of 1,000 different kinds of people might be saying what you're saying, but they're not in a cult-like manner completely united on something that you're telling us they are.
And neither, and I don't think neither is the right. I think you've got. Hey, take a look at what's happening today in Great Britain. I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the elections of what's happening there today. The conservatives are taking over, but it's not the conservatives that you would think. I mean, to them, conservatives to us is like a classical liberal. I mean, their conservatives are like our classical liberals, which is what I consider myself to be.
Right.
An independent classical liberal that believes in the sanctity of the individual, not groupthink, not politics by group fiat, which is what you've got on both sides of the aisle.
Uh-huh.
You either belong to this group or you belong to that group. No,
right.
I'm not part of a group. I'm not the straight white man group. That's not my group. I'm just a person. I'm an individual who has individual viewpoints and thoughts.
I'm retroactively getting so embarrassed about the political conversations that I probably had with you when I was 29 or 30 years old. And I was raised, in a very Republican conservative household, and I was a lifelong Republican, and I didn't even realize why I was. I didn't even understand fully why I was. And, and we probably went back and forth about stuff that I didn't even know what the hell I was saying.
Yeah, probably.
But now,
I was much more liberal back then.
Yes. Oh, you were much more liberal? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't see. The thing is, now I completely understand. My voter's registration card says no party affiliation. I think that's been since 2015.
I have voted Libertarian.
Yep, I have
for the past 4 elections.
Oh, I've voted Libertarian before, but I have not all.
And it's not because I'm a Libertarian. It's because the choices that I was given.
It's what you were left with.
Yeah,
yes,
and I wanted to at least vote for something that would show up as a point or two, in the polls. And until we get rid of this, it's really the problem, man. Is the 2-party system? It really is.
It really. And I've been criticized for. I voted for. I forget his name now. Gary Johnson.
Gary Johnson.
And people say, "Oh, that works out to a vote for Trump." Well, no, it doesn't. It votes out to me saying that I don't like either one of these people.
That's right. I used to say years ago when we did the radio show together, and I said it to you the other day on Twitter. I said, I've always operated under the assumption that all politicians, by their very nature, are liars, criminals, and thieves.
Yeah, and that's exactly right.
And you know what? If you realize that, you will never be disappointed.
And not only that, but that also goes back to what I was saying before. It was just yesterday I was sitting with a friend of mine who made an excellent analogy about politics. He said, "Have you ever seen sausage being made?" And I just said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "No, see, if you ever saw how sausage is made, you probably would need it.
Yeah.
But now that you don't, you enjoy it. So if you treat politics the same way and you don't know what's going on under the hood, you can enjoy life better." And I just wish I could get back to that place,
Yes, Doctor.
That's basically sums up that whole feeling about it.
So, go get a lobotomy or something. I mean, right?
No, I mean, I'm getting back into things like golf and sports and music and my sound system, and getting obsessive about speaker wires and stuff like that. It's like rather than wondering about what Marco Rubio is up to.
So let's look at it. Here's this is the funny thing is the way that politics operates in this country, the way people vote. To me, as I see it, it's like, this last 4 years under the Republican administration, I don't like that. This time I'm voting Democrat. Yeah. So you get 4 years with a Democrat and you're like, really, I don't like that,
Right.
I'm going to vote Republican. So this goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and nothing ever gets solved.
Well, and what you described is sort of a microcosm of exactly how Congress works anyway. And then we also we're supposed to have all that back and forth and end up stuck somewhere in the middle, with a little bit of things that make sense from the right and a little bit of things that make sense from the left.
Right, because you need that conservative viewpoint. What is a conservative viewpoint? The conservative viewpoint is keeping things steady, keeping things conservative, holding on to the things that matter. But you also need that liberal viewpoint, which is adventurous and trying new things.
Exactly.
You need both of them to balance each other out.
You pretty much just said exactly what I was going to say, and that is we forget the dictionary definitions of these words. If you call yourself a conservative, you're exactly that. You're conservative. You like the way things have been working in your system. You want to keep stuff that way, and you want to stay safe. The liberals are open to change and possibilities and new things and progress with unconventional means, or at least looking into it. So we got to stick to that thing. And now what happens is the extremes are messing everything up.
Right. Okay, at this point I need to interrupt because we started to get a little too deep into politics. It became ponderous. We started yelling at each other, and you know what that story's all about. And besides, I need to cut this down to about 60 minutes because I'm cheap and my podcasting host only lets me do about that much. So now we fast forward.
All right. Well, there you go. Thanks for coming by. I mean, I got I'm just looking over my notes and seeing what else. What's going on personally with you these days, buddy? How's Austin?
Austin, well, here's the thing, and I'm sure you'll agree with this. It kind of doesn't matter where you live.
Oh, that's absolutely true. And you know what? There's a whole music discussion involved with that, too. You know what's gone now is the geographical differences in music in the country. It's not, there's no longer, their Seattle sound was probably the last time music was geographical. It's all universal now, and everybody's in the same boat.
I can even remember, like, I was talking about T-Bone Burnett before, going back like maybe 30 years ago, 35 years ago. He was talking about the musical geographical differences that existed in the 30s and the 40s.
Wow.
You know, even just because you had the Memphis sound, right? You know, you had
the New Orleans sound.
Right, you had Detroit with Motown and L.A. jazz scene. You know,
Philly had a sound.
And he was even going into the concept of how even where the music was recorded using this old analog equipment sounded different in the microphones and on the tape than it did if you recorded something in Detroit on the same mic and the same tape than you recorded it in Memphis.
I know exactly what you're talking about. If you could recognize the sound of that 3-track recorder that Johnny Cash used at Sun in Nashville, and it had a specific sound, so you could hear something and know where it came from.
Right. Now, when I first moved here, I guess I've been here over 10 years now. When I first moved here, everywhere you went, there was live music. Everywhere.
Yeah.
Coffee shop. Everywhere. I mean, you walk down the street and people busking on the street corners everywhere you went. In the last couple of years, that's really changed, and it's because it's gotten so expensive to live here.
Are you saying Austin isn't the unique music scene that it used to be?
It kind of sort of is, but not really, because it's gotten so expensive to live here. So many people have moved here from California and New York, especially California, because it's now this tech hub. Apple's second biggest campus is where? It's in Austin.
Oh, wow.
You know, you've got a lot of companies that have just completely moved here. Elon Musk moved Tesla here, basically.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
When did that happen?
I missed that one. It's been happening. They're opening a new, they're going to build all the trucks, the Tesla trucks, here in Austin. Oracle is now based here completely. Dell, of course, has always been based here. So you've got this exodus from California coming into Austin. And what it's done is it's driven the prices of everything through the roof. And, of course, a lot of people from New York moved here as well. The house that we live in has doubled in price in the last 4 years.
Oh, there you go. Awesome.
Well, if we sell it, where are you going to go?
Right.
Because everything's expensive.
I mean, I'm looking at my little Zillow thing every month that comes in, and my house's value is apparently going up like 4% every month. It's like I have a $15,000 a year income from the price of my house.
Yeah, and taxes here, as far as property taxes, are really bad.
You suck.
Very high.
So what are you saying? So the musicians can't really afford to live there? They can't
afford to live here, yeah. A lot of them have moved on. You've still got a lot of them that are still here. For example, but it used to be much cooler. It did used to be much cooler.
They still have South by Southwest, or they will.
Yeah, or as the locals like to call it, South by So What. You never heard that?
That's great. I love it.
It's like everybody gets out of town. Oh, it's South by So What. Let's get the hell out of Dodge.
I think the only time I went to South by Southwest was one of the coolest years ever. So is 94?
Yeah.
So
that's a good year.
Veruca Salt with like 15 other people standing by me. Nobody knew who they were. Danzig in a very small place. And what's their names? Cracker was like the big headliner at the end of the last day.
I know the drummer for Cracker.
There you go. You do?
Yeah, he was in the Dull Lords.
Oh, wow. Oh, and then you turned me on to a long time ago.
Frank Furiano from Long Island. I think that was his name.
You know what I just remembered? Remember we used to do those acoustic gigs on the corner like we were street bums?
Yes. We had a lot of fun at the Edge. It was very adventurous.
The steak sauce flavored donuts that we had made. Was that what it was? Barbecue sauce? We
did a fish head
John,
golf.
you had a Dunkin' Donuts specifically make some donuts with barbecue sauce in them, and we went on the streets and asked people how they tasted. Come on, man.
I don't remember that, but I'm sure we did.
And I have a friend.
Excuse me.
A friend.
I'm dying over here.
Glad I caught you before you passed, John. This is great. I have a friend in California who visits regularly, and I've known the guy for 20-something years. And I've told him he is the perfect audience person you'd want to have hearing the Payne Webster bit. Is every time I describe it to him now for years, he's like, "Hey guys, how the hell you doing?" He knows all the things. I've never played him one recording of it or anything. It's great. And
so
he would love
we should say what it was. Payne Webster was the faux, somewhat illiterate black stockbroker that would do the stock market report.
I just imagined a pitch to a program director in this day and age. How well that would go over.
Now wait a second. When did I ever pitch anything?
That's true.
I just did it. I always operated under the assumption that forgiveness is it's better just to do it and get forgiven later.
Just do it now and apologize later.
That's right.
Oh man.
But I was going to say, as far as like musicians, who was living here for a while was what can I say? I swear to God, old age sucks so much. The lead singer for Led Zeppelin. What the hell is
Robert Plant?
Robert Plant was living here for a while because he was living with that redheaded broad.
Oh my God!
But I would sometimes drive by where he lived off of, in the 04. Everything here is by zip code, so he lived in the 04. And I would see him working on the lawn out front.
How ultra hip of you guys!
Yeah, he would be working on, like pulling weeds, and he would show up at different clubs and stuff, and just sit in and just sing with people, anybody.
Wow. Well, that's great.
He was actually a pretty cool guy. I mean, he was pretty normal,
Yep.
He was not like, I'm a rock star.
These go to 11.
He was like the anti-rock star.
I only had one opportunity to meet him, and he was perfectly pleasant and sweet. Good guy.
Yeah.
What else was I going to ask you about that? There was something that you mentioned in there that I was going to bring up, but I can't remember now.
Yeah, so the music scene's changed here a lot. Like I said, when I first got here, it was live music was everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere.
That's all anyone ever said about Austin for so many years.
And that has changed. It's changed a lot. And I really do think it's because a lot of the musicians just can't afford to live here.
So anyway, to pick up on the Payne Webster story, my favorite part about it is that we were in our first week together, and we were still trying to figure out how we were going to put the show together. And we were going out to lunch after a morning show one day, and you go, what we should do? We should do like a weekly financial report with some illiterate guy that doesn't even know what he's talking about with the thing. And he goes, what name could we give a black guy that does that? And I didn't even miss a beat, and I just said Payne Webster.
Oh, so you came up with the name?
In the elevator right outside the door. I remember that. So I'm very proud of that moment. And then, so there's the premise, and basically it would go something like this. Good morning, The Edge.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, hi, that is for Payne Webster.
Hey, Payne, it's good to hear.
Hey, what the hell is going on? So he would do the report, and it would be like, well, today in the stock market report, the Dow Jones, the double the Abbott, the double about 40%, but he would read the actual thing.
Oh yeah,
but it would be unintelligible. And the thing is that it was listening to it. It was obvious the guy knew what he was talking about, and he wasn't an idiot. He just was.
He just didn't know how to say it.
He just couldn't do it. And it would look like it, there was up at 49, but in on the Dow but in the stock market today.
Let me see if I can shake some of these little lines out of you again. So, Payne, what do you got planned for the weekend? Are you going to do some fishing?
Yeah, me and the minute I don't what we just say, but maybe they get catfish, and
we go for the crappie.
Yeah, with the crappie. Yeah. We go fish for the crappie, and then we're going to take a crappie, and we're going to be a big crappie down at the river there. We go down at the Red River. We go down to the Red River, and we take a big crappie and with the red fish.
And I know you remember this part. So Payne, if people need any more further financial advice, where can they find you? Where's your office located again?
Oh, God, where was it? Haberhan Boulevard?
No, it was at the corner of Preston and Arapahoe.
Yeah, that's right, Preston and Arapahoe, which was Preston and Arapahoe.
And where is that? I couldn't understand what you said, Payne.
We on the corner of Preston and Arapahoe.
Arapahoe?
Yeah, Arapahoe, right outside the head.
You used to do it. It was a repeated way you used to close it with that would be like, yeah, Arapahoe. Like when you sitting there watching ESPN and your wife in the kitchen clinging and clanging and you just said, shut up, bitch, Arapahoe.
I can't remember all this.
Can you imagine if we did that on the radio these days?
It's bad enough that we're going to do it on this podcast.
Apple Podcast is sending us both an email tomorrow.
I don't really.
Man.
Do I care? Do I care? No, I don't
exactly.
care. No, but yeah, we're just looking at this in its historical context.
Yes.
Think of it kind of like, the statues of the Confederate soldiers. It all needs to be looked at in the historical context.
Right. Exactly right. You don't need to tear them down. It's old history. Right. Exactly. What a great chance. What a great opportunity to catch up with you, my friend.
Yeah. It's too bad we got into politics. I hate politics so much.
And there was a lot of that crap going on when we were out there, too. Early 90s, Ann Richards, the whole Texas. There was a lot of political back and forth going on there. I'm really glad I didn't understand any of it.
And we would make fun of it, but we were on the air. Oh, remember the guy that was running against Ann Richards was Clayton Williams.
Oh yes, I do.
Clayton Billion III, I used to call him. And he was the guy that said, if you remember this, he made some comment. He said, "Well, I kind of look at that like a woman getting raped. If it's inevitable, you just lay back and enjoy yourself."
That's I remember that.
That's really what he said.
I know.
I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's
never would have remembered that if you didn't just mention that. That's really incredible.
That was his platform. Rape. My platform is rape. I mean, and you're worried about Donald Trump. His platform was rape, for God's sakes.
Oh man.
I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. But there's no better word than stupid.
Jesus. Well, I'm still, like I said, I'm trying to deprogram myself. So hopefully I'll be a little more ignorant about politics next time you talk to me. Try to just wean myself off of it. So, right. John Ford. So what's up with you these days? So how often are you doing this podcast?
For a while I was doing them quite often. I think I'm doing them like once a month now.
Yeah, that's about. I'm doing 2 or 3 a month.
Well, I would just do it myself,
right?
And because let's face it, most people that you're going to get as a guest are going to be really boring.
Here's how much of I don't really give a shit when I put my podcast out. I'm doing like 3 a month this year, and I did 4 podcasts total last year.
Right.
So it's just really like when I feel like it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the way you have to do it, unless you're Joe Rogan, who also lives in Austin now.
Wow, we could have a whole show on that, on the guys out there doing this stuff. But
yeah, he got some big palatial place out in the hill country. He moved here like
so he does do it
ago.
out of Texas too.
Yeah, no, he moved here like 2 months ago.
I'm coming out there next week, but to Dallas.
Oh,
so for a long weekend.
Why are you going to Dallas?
You'll roll your eyes. Going to play some golf, see some old friends.
Oh, Jesus.
So.
My stepfather called golf.
What?
You know my stepfather called golf?
For who?
No, when he called it. He didn't call, like, hey, golf. No, not that kind of calling. Do you know what he called golf?
Oh, I thought you said, here's what I thought you meant. Thought you meant he called golf like he was an announcer on TV.
That's not what I meant.
Okay.
Hey, golf, hole in one. No. He
he called golf what?
Yeah, no, he called it cow pasture pool.
That's exactly how it started. It's a matter of fact. Well, that's exactly what it was.
He was a Florida boy.
Yeah.
As opposed to, what's his name? Mark Twain, who said it was a perfect way to ruin the perfect way to ruin a good walk.
Right.
Something
a great walk spoiled.
Great walk spoiled. There you go.
John, thanks. Okay. I was sort of wrapping it up.
Yeah, I know you are. So wrap this. I'm sort of semi-retired. I do voiceovers, and that's about it.
The reason I'm getting back into this surround sound and music stuff is because I'm working for this company called Zapedia. I'm doing some marketing for them.
I saw that. What is that?
So they make these media players. They're real high-end. They play every audio and video codec out there, so you can store all of your media, and it'll play everything seamlessly from one to the other in as high definition as it possibly can. So it's a component that's really cool in home theaters.
And is it expensive?
Yes.
Why would I have Plex.
I'm not trying to sell it to you. I'm just telling you what I'm doing.
No, I wouldn't buy it anyways. I have a Plex server.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, the difference between this is that it's, like they've done with the right projectors and all that stuff, you get a very, very superior picture. They're all HDR equipped, let's put it that way. Right. And then, you know what I mean? So, and then they make a NAS server that is like $4,000, and it'll hold 8 bays, has 8 bays for swappable drives, so you can put like an unlimited amount of stuff on there and all your music. So it's all centralized in one place.
I'm sure the quality's, not as good. I mean, because I've got the Plex server. I got all my music on it. Mm-hmm. I've got lots of pirated movies on it. Right. That kind of stuff. And it works okay, for free. That's the nice part. But
yeah.
It doesn't cost anything. But, it obviously if you had a really nice setup and wanted really high quality and all that stuff, it would probably not be the way to go.
Blah, blah, blah.
Everything is about convenience these days. So everything that almost all of the high tech out there today is all based around convenience. So everybody always sacrifices quality so that something can be quick or, not buffering all the time or, all that kind of stuff. So we're still doing a lot of sacrificing because of internet bandwidth restrictions, but that's changing very quickly.
So real quickly, what's Miami radio like these days?
It's exactly what you probably think it is. Although now that I'm almost 60, I'm listening to AM talk radio more than anything. But it's so detached from the audience, John, is the best way I can describe it. The DJs say very little. There's a lot of stations that are going straight into commercial breaks right out of music.
Right.
It's almost sounds like it's an automated playlist all the time now, and you just don't feel connected to it. And I don't think I'm describing anything that's unique to Miami.
Any different than any other market. No,
I think it's
just
like this everywhere.
Yeah, I just wondered, so it's pretty much it's just mornings and afternoons are live anymore?
How about this? Yeah, the 2 shifts that are remaining on the number 1 easy listening station, Light FM, is 5 a.m. to noon and noon to 7.
Wow.
So if you're doing a morning drive there, you do 5 to 10 live, and you'll voice track 10 to 12. I mean, I'm sorry, even the best DJ in the world, who wants to listen to him for 7 hours?
Well, yeah. I wouldn't do it.
I know, it's crazy. And so what happened is we've dumbed down the prerequisites to be a DJ over the years. Now that just anybody does it. And all the prestige from what we used to do 20, 30, 40 years ago is all gone,
It's not fun anymore.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. All right, Bill.
It's not fun. No, I'm just that could be a very long, depressing conversation if we wanted to, but
yes,
let's leave it at that, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with me for an hour here or so, 75 minutes.
Thanks for hanging out with me here, John, for an hour or so, as we kind of put the bookend on both podcasts at the same time. Pretty unique thing. Everybody can find John, your podcast, obviously, on Apple Podcasts and all the suspects out there.
It's on all of them.
And it's John Ford. You have a very easy name to spell.
Yes. You go to johnford.radio. It's also on there.
Oh, how about that .radio? And, of course...
and that's got, like, old air checks and stuff like that on there.
I've got to dig up some and do it. I've got a box of cassettes with this. Somewhere there's a Payne Webster bit on there.
I've got so many domains. It's like, collect them and trade them. I got johnford.net. I got johnford.radio. I got VoiceOver Austin.
I've got
I got about 5 or 6 more that I can't even think of.
I got about 250 podcast episodes in archives at BillMurphyShow.com. And then for the commercial or agency guys that need to, for some reason, get in touch with me for my voice, I'm at BillMurphyProductions.com. Thanks again, John. This has been a blast.
All right, man. Talk to you.
It's time to say so long. Sorry to say that it's time to go. Remember this spot on your radio. There'll be more entertainment for you that you'll find so enjoyable too. So tune in on Monday, because that is when that man...
Is this John Ford?
Yes, it is.
You're a jerk.
Will be here.